Hi YouTube, it's Marianne from Printful's marketing team. Welcome to our productivity series in which we'll go over tips on how to be more productive. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so you don't miss the next video. In this first video, I'd like to share with you some of the productivity tips that I've picked up while working in Printful and get you to skip over the superficial guilt you sometimes feel for not being productive. So let's get to it. Number 1, your productivity starts with you. It might seem that whenever somebody talks or writes about productivity, they're trying to unlock a single specific way of doing things that will lead you to being productive. It's as if being productive were some mythical achievement that can only be unlocked with either writing to-do lists a certain way or logging on your activities on the right app. These two suggestions aren't bad, but what's usually missing from the likes of them is mentioning that productivity is actually something deeply individual, and the feeling of being unproductive often comes from comparing your productivity methods to those of other people and feeling bad about them not matching up. And comparing somebody else's productivity style to your own is like comparing apples and oranges. However, it's always good to borrow some productivity tips from people you admire, because the trick with borrowing habits is you can give them back. You might borrow ideas from someone who's reached success in your professional field, or someone from your closest circles, like your friends, family, or coworkers who maybe don't see themselves as productivity coaches, but you still find inspiring. A while ago, I came across a rather individual work productivity tip that I liked very much. It was from Kate Lewis, Chief Content Officer at Hearst Magazines. She says she creates an extensive weekly to-do list and immediately throws it out. What she remembers is what sticks, and the rest proves to be pointless enough to be forgotten. Now, this might not be the best approach for work, but it's definitely worth a shot for errands. So when sizing up productivity tips, don't try to copy and paste someone else's schedule or habits. Instead, borrow the things that you can adapt to your daily life in a way that fits you and helps you work towards the goals you've set. And while we're on goals, here's tip number 2. Be realistic with them. Goals tend to take the shape of to-do lists, and one of the keys to achieving those goals is prioritizing. If your to-do list has become too long and with too many things you can't seem to cross off, most likely you're treating every goal as a priority. And in the long run, that won't lead you anywhere else but down a miserable spiral of anxiety. My advice is to take a good hard look at all the things you have piled up in your to-do list, or multiple, let's be real, and be honest about what they mean to you right now. You can probably place them in these 4 categories. Number 1, the must-dos. Things that are important, but also could be overwhelming or scary. Number 2, nice-to-have tasks that don't have a particular reason or value for the present moment. Number 3, things you know you'll do anyway, but you've added to your list for the sheer pleasure of being able to cross them out. And number 4, things someone else thinks should be on your priority list. So if you're being realistic and honest, you can go ahead and delete the things that fall under categories 2, 3, and 4, the nice-to-haves, the self-explanatories, and the not yours. My suggestion would be to approach your to-do list as a tool for the things you need to do, not want to do. So everything else that's not a priority doesn't have to be there to clutter your mind. But how to manage all the must-dos, all those priorities? Well, you're going to have to be smart about managing them. You see, managing your workload does not end with a finished to-do list. Staying productive is also about how well you react to incoming tasks and ideas, and how you sort them to single out the most important and time-sensitive ones. If you've been on the hunt for productivity tips, you're probably familiar with the getting things done approach by David Allen. It's become, in a way, a defining methodology of how to be productive in the business world. However, Allen's method overlaps with others, including that of former US President Dwight Eisenhower. His method was known as the Eisenhower box. So for both Allen and Eisenhower, prioritizing is based on 4 rules. If a task is important and has to be done ASAP, added bonus if you can complete it quickly, do it ASAP, get to it right away. Not only will you have one less thing to do, but you'll also get that immediate satisfaction of doing something right away. However, if the task is important but can't be completed as soon as possible for objective reasons, decide right away when you're going to come back to it, or set a deadline for completing the task. If you look at a task, ask yourself if you're the right person for the job, and the answer is no, find the right person and ask them to take care of the task as soon as possible. This is sometimes hard to recognize and hard to do because we want to be self-sufficient and almighty, but asking for help and collaborating with people is not a weakness, it's a strength. If something is neither important nor urgent drop it. Otherwise, you'll just clutter up your to-do list with those pointless, nice-to-have items. For this kind of task management to work, keep your notes in a single location that you can easily access and review. If you have tasks scattered across your desktop, mobile, notebook, and Post-its, you're going to have a bad time and won't be able to prioritize properly. And there are plenty of great tools out there for keeping your thoughts and tasks all in one place. If you prefer the classic analog lifestyle, stick to pen and paper. If you want to go digital, there are tools like Evernote, Things, and Google Keep to help you out. Google Keep, by the way, is my personal favorite. It's simple, easy to use, syncs automatically, and it's free of charge. Our next video will cover a bunch of other productivity tools, so keep an eye out for the updates on our YouTube channel if you're not happy with your current to-do list situation or if you're looking for a new to-do list manager. Number 4, divide bigger tasks into smaller ones. Remember the first category of to-dos that I mentioned earlier, those important, scary ones? A productivity tip you'll often find is to break them down into smaller, less scary ones. This way, you're no longer facing a big, overwhelming task or looking at the end goal, but you're working through smaller, actionable steps to help you get there. For example, if I were creating an important email campaign for a new product launch for my print-on-demand store, I would break down the whole thing into small, actionable tasks. For example, brainstorm campaign ideas, create campaign draft, finalize copy and visuals, and schedule campaign. And once the entire task is completed, remember to monitor the results. So for the email campaign, I would set a reminder for myself to check on the results after a short while. Number 5, work in a team and communicate. We live and work in communities. That's why our individual productivity is also influenced by the habits of the people around us. And one way we can help ourselves and each other's productivity is through teamwork. Solving problems on our own is fantastic and it feels great, but sometimes it's one of the least productive things you can do. If you're stuck for a long time, you eventually start going in circles around your problem and you feel annoyed. That's when you need to snap out of it, step away, and ask somebody to lend you a hand. By doing so, you'll also save precious time and energy. So say you get stuck during a brainstorm phase of a project. You can't seem to put it into words, or maybe you're having a hard time deciding if the idea is actually any good. One of the ways to overcome this is by talking it over with someone. A fresh perspective never fails. It provokes questions, demands answers, and makes you think harder. So when you've had your chat, you'll be able to sit down, gather feedback, gather your thoughts, and conquer those first steps of your project. If you already work in a team, you may have noticed that team productivity is very much related to team communication. Work is work and play is play, so try to be respectful of your teammates' time and be as brief and to the point as possible. Polishing your communication style is a good mental exercise. It shows courtesy to your communication partner and also shows that you're in control. To give you an example, let's say someone in your team has asked you to share a Google Doc and you have no idea where it is. So instead of wasting time replying, "Oh, hold on, I have no idea what folder I put it in, let me check that for you if I can find it in my inbox plus emoji," try on it. I'll let you know in 10 minutes. So give as many facts as you can, as soon as you can, and save the chit-chat for your coffee break. Number 6, be mindful of your mobile habits. Have you recently caught yourself quickly checking the weather app only to end up browsing your Facebook feed for 30 minutes? Or maybe you've replied to a message that's popped up, allowing yourself to get sucked into a vortex of arranging plans and travel destinations, and you did all that while you were supposed to be working. If this sounds familiar, it might be the right time to think over your mobile habits. It's nothing revolutionary that we desperately want to be up to date with all the news, and we don't want to be left out of the things that matter to us. But surely you've noticed by now that online content is often a cunning marketing trick, which often doesn't provide you with any real news or information. Checking your phone every 5 minutes doesn't help to become any wiser, more connected, or more productive. The big question you have to ask here is, why are you picking up your phone in the first place? Why go on your phone at a time you've specifically set aside for completing a task? Is the task boring? Do you need help? Is something distracting you? There are multiple ways you can deal with app overuse. You can go with a technical solution to manage your social media. For example, you can use an app blocker or a tool like Mindful Browsing for Chrome. Another option is to log yourself out of social media and similar apps once you're done using them. Logging back will take more tabs than usual, giving you time to check in with yourself to see if it's really necessary. The easiest solution of all, provided your line of work allows it, is to keep your phone off your workspace and out of your field of vision. If you keep your phone screen up right in front of your keyboard, the temptation to see what's making the screen light up is hard to resist. So store your phone in your bag or your drawer and take it out when you actually need it. Number 7, look after yourself. As I said at the beginning of this video, your productivity starts with you. And that also means you as in flesh and bone, mind and soul. The last decade or so has been one continuous promo of self-care, so you're probably well aware that sleep, exercise, and a well-balanced diet can't be ignored if you want to be in tip-top shape, feel good, and be productive. Being well-rested is a must in order to have an enjoyable, productive day. But sleep patterns are as unique as fingerprints. Some people need a full 8 hours, others do fine with just 6 hours of sleep. Some are power nappers, others find them draining and a waste of time. Bottom line is, be mindful of what your body is trying to tell you. If you notice you've been catching colds easier than before, or you feel that people are getting on your nerves more than usual, it just might be that you've been robbing yourself of rest, which is making you cranky. There are some other habits that can make you feel tired and slouchy in the long term, and a lot of them have to do with your posture and how you position your body throughout the day. These habits can become especially toxic if you spend most of your day seated. So make a deliberate effort to sit up straight, keep your shoulders back and chin parallel to the floor. This will open up your chest and help you get more air into your lungs. Another thing that we're all guilty of is crossing our legs while sitting and shifting our weight on one leg when standing. Yes, it's super comfortable and it even looks kind of nice, but it's actually causing muscular disbalance in your body. Try a little experiment. After watching this video, see if you can spend an entire day consciously keeping both feet planted on the floor, both while sitting or standing up. You might soon become aware that you're not using your full body strength. I know that I tend to shift all my weight to my left, both when sitting as well as standing up. And for this reason, my right shoulder tends to rise higher than my left, and my right leg isn't as strong as my left because it's literally not pulling the weight. So don't be like me and pay attention to your posture. Another thing I'd encourage you to try after watching this video is eating your meals without looking at a screen, be it your phone, laptop, desktop, or smartwatch. Then add just 5 extra minutes to your meal time and see how that affects your productivity and well-being for the day. Chances are you'll chew your food more, eat a bit slower, and return to your work feeling less sleepy than usual because your body won't have to shut down in order to help you digest. And finally, we've reached productivity tip number 8, be okay with procrastination. You're a person and not a machine, and there will be days when your brain will need to take a break. It happens to the best of us. We all have days when we feel sluggish, uninspired, and unable to focus no matter what we do. When this happens, don't panic. I think we've become borderline obsessed with the mindset that procrastination is practically laziness, but that's just not true. Just because you're running around like crazy doesn't mean you're getting much done, and just because you're sitting still doesn't mean you're not being active. To address your issues with procrastination, have a little chat with yourself and ask, why do you procrastinate? Some people do it out of the thrill they get from doing something last minute. Because there's so little time to complete their task, they become as focused as ever and produce some of their best work. Others procrastinate because of the buildup that precedes execution, and that's where they generate their best ideas. And although it overlaps with those thrill seekers I mentioned earlier, there's a difference. The thrill seeker won't invest any mental energy into the task before that final cutoff. However, the idea generator will use procrastination to get to the core of the task and figure out exactly what they need to do. And finally, there are lots of people who tend to procrastinate out of fear. They avoid doing things when they'd actually like to do them because they're afraid, either of failure or maybe being judged. And if that happens to you, kindly ask fear to leave and instead ask your teammates or friends for a friendly push to help you get on your way. So it doesn't matter what kind of procrastinator you are, don't be ashamed of it and use procrastination to your advantage. So go read that book that's been gathering dust on your shelf for a while, listen to that podcast, watch a movie, or learn something new while watching educational YouTube videos. And put down the things that you notice because they just might come in handy when you finally get down to business. Bottom line is, just because you're not doing something you were supposed to do doesn't mean you're not being productive. It's all a matter of perspective. So those are my 8 tips for being more productive. As you can see, working on your productivity habits actually means working on your personality. Productivity isn't something that's external to you. It's not an injection or an ointment. It's a set of your day-to-day rituals, habits, and worldviews. That's why I'd like you to take this list and any other list with a grain of salt and not get discouraged by the heaps of productivity tips out there. Think about the tips we discussed, try some of those little experiments I mentioned, and see if any of them make you feel better, and see if they help you reach the goals you've set for yourself. What are your top productivity tips? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for the next video in this productivity series where we'll look at some of our favorite productivity tools and apps. See you in the next video.